Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you both now and forever. In the readings we have today, I would like us to draw out two important things from these readings. The first one is about suffering, and the second one is about the attitude we should have in times of suffering. If you look at the gospel we have today, you understand that Jesus personally called by the side his 12 apostles just before he started his journey towards Jerusalem. I'm sure you understand the implication of this. And to the people that Jesus called by the side, they understood what that meant. Jerusalem is a place known for the elimination or killing of messengers of God. So when Jesus called them by the side, he wanted to give them a clear picture of what was going to happen. Remember that previously, Peter said that Jesus is the Messiah. He is the anointed one. But at this moment, it was not very clear to them the kind of Messiah that Jesus was. Because they were thinking that he was a political Messiah, and by that, his personality was devoid of suffering. But Jesus wanted to correct this. Many of us have this kind of disposition that when you are suffering, you are rejected by God, but it's not true. So Jesus needed to prepare their minds. I know personally that many of us will lose hope once we encounter suffering. So Jesus wanted to prepare their minds as he is preparing your mind and my mind in case of trials and crises and challenges, that we don't lose hope. So Jesus called them by the side and revealed to them in details about his Paschal mystery, his passion, suffering, his crucifixion, his death, and of course his resurrection. The story will not end with the crucifixion, but the story will continue in the resurrection and of course the ascension. So Jesus reveals to them, he makes it very open to them that I am going to suffer. Even me, your Messiah, even me, your Lord and Master, I am not exempted from suffering. It's easy for us to think that when we become Christians, we are automatically exempted from suffering, but it's not true. We are not exempted from pains, from suffering, but the issue now is when we suffer, in times of our suffering, how do we see the bigger picture? If you look at the revelation or the passion prediction that Jesus gave to us today, you will see that Jesus already had the perfect picture. He has the big picture. Most times our sufferings crush us, weigh us down simply because we just look at the immediate suffering. We don't look at, the bigger picture of whatever we are going through. Because every suffering, every pain that you go through has a reason. John chapter 9 verse 3, your suffering, I tell you, dear brothers and sisters, your suffering presently could be for the glory of God if only we can endure. So Jesus makes us to understand that even as our Lord and Master, he is not exempted from suffering. You are not exempted from suffering because you're a Christian or because you're living a holy life. I am not exempted from suffering because I'm a priest. But when we understand the meaning of suffering, we understand that suffering can be redemptive. Now, dear brothers and sisters, we see that as Jesus was talking about his suffering, we see the mother of James and John coming before Jesus. And for the fact that Jesus understands whatever you're going through, Jesus knew that this woman had something to say, but she was a little bit reluctant. And Jesus went down to her level and said, "Woman, what do you want?" Most times it is difficult for us to open our minds, but deep inside us we are suffering. We have this emotional trauma, we have this infighting within us, but we can't say it out. But Jesus understands our dynamics. Jesus understands whatever you're going through. He understands, everything, all the crises, your trials, your sufferings, your pains. He understands that. And that's why he came down to the level of this woman and said, what do you want? Are you going through any difficult times? Are you going through difficult situation? Jesus comes down to our level and says to us, what do you want? What do you want me to do for you? You want me to help you to carry the cross? Yeah, I want Jesus to help me to carry the cross, because if I carry it alone, it will be too heavy for me. And look at the question that Jesus asked the two brothers. Are you ready to drink from my chalice? The chalice for the Jewish people or the Asian people is a symbol of suffering. Indirectly or directly, Jesus was basically asking them, are you ready to suffer for me, for my sake? Are you ready to discomfort yourself for another person? Are you ready to love? Because it's very difficult to love. Are you ready to forgive? Are you ready to walk in my shoes? Are you ready to accept insults? Are you ready to discomfort yourself to make another person comfortable? And they said yes. Fortunately or unfortunately, when James answered his yes without thinking, possibly, he did not know he would be the first to die as a martyr, because James was the first among the 12 to die as a martyr. But the fact is this, that enthusiasm to walk with the Lord, if we have that kind of enthusiasm to walk with the Lord, no matter the suffering we are going through, Jesus will always walk with us. See, dear brothers and sisters, suffering is a way that God purifies us. There are different kinds of suffering. The suffering that is sent to us to purify us. But there's another suffering that we incur upon ourselves. Like when you do something, when you intentionally do something that will bring suffering to you, it can be a punishment. Let us remember that there's something we have to do. And this brings me to the second part of this reflection, which is about the right attitude we should have in times of suffering. What's your attitude when you are suffering? You give up? You complain? You tell your friends? No. I like us to emulate what Prophet Jeremiah did in time of his own suffering. His was more, or it started with emotional, psychological suffering. Because not all sufferings are just physical. Some are emotional, psychological, mental, spiritual, name them. At this moment, Prophet Jeremiah knew that people were plotting against him. He knew that people were conspiring to destroy and to eliminate him. What did he do? Now, look at that first reading very well. You will see that when Jeremiah heard about the conspiracy against him, he brought his case to God. He told God basically about his situation in prayer. He told God about his innocence. He told God about his dedication. Then he left everything in the hands of God. The mistake that many of us make in times of our suffering is that we try to carry it alone. If you try to carry your suffering alone, it will weigh you down. It will become a serious burden. But when you experience suffering, it is always better to hand it over to God. Jesus did not promise anyone anywhere in the Bible that as Christians that we will be exempted from suffering. No. But the fact is this, that what he promised us is his presence. So in the moments of your crisis, trials, challenges, struggles, and sufferings, the best thing to do is to gather them together, put them in the hands of Jesus, and allow him to help you. I am not saying that the problems or the sufferings, they will disappear, but you will become fortified. Your cross will become bearable. Your cross will become lighter. You know why? Because Jesus will be walking with you. He will help you to carry your cross. And he will endow you with the grace for strength, with the grace for resilience. Your problems will never break you, but your problems will actually help you to become a better person. And that's where the suffering becomes redemptive. Dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for listening to this reflection. Please do well to share it. God bless you.